never give up on us, and we won't give up on them.
Tonight, another trip to Rome and another call for a papal apology, this time from a Manitoba organization.
We created an economic model that we can adapt to fishing of any species.
Vancouver Island fishers are finally exercising their right to harvest crab.
I think boys should bead, and I would love to see more male beaders.
And who says boys can't do beadwork? Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News. There's been no sign of 5-year-old Frank Young since he disappeared on the Red Earth Cree Nation in northeast Saskatchewan around lunchtime on Tuesday. But RCMP say because there's no sign he was abducted, no Amber Alert has been issued. APTN's Leanne Sanders has that story.
It's now been more than 48 hours since the little boy disappeared, wearing just dinosaur pajamas, his Paw Patrol rubber boots, and a blue windbreaker. Last night, an RCMP search and rescue plane equipped with infrared cameras arrived, doing grid searches for several hours. Today, aerial and ground searches by trained search and rescue teams from First Nations around Saskatchewan continued. The RCMP Underwater Recovery Team has also been conducting dive operations in the Carrot River, which runs through the First Nation near the home where the boy was last seen. Yesterday, members were out in boats searching shoreline. During a news conference, officials from Red Earth spoke of the difficulties of the search.
We do feel the pressure and the grief and whatever that comes with. So far, we haven't been successful in locating Frank.
We come together as a community, both Red Earth and Shoal Lake as a community. We're strong in our love and our guidance and helping each other as a community.
A province-wide vulnerable person alert was extended today, asking people to keep an eye out for Frank Young. Officials say the search will go on until the child is found. Leanne Sanders, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
The Manitoba Métis Federation met with Pope Francis today at the Vatican. The delegation says the Pope took responsibility for the extreme harms caused by the Catholic Church. Métis leaders say the meeting was a very powerful way to start the healing process.
Give him a pair of beaded slippers, tiny slippers along with the cross, for him to understand and remember that every time he sees it, we want him to walk with us. We want him to be with us. We want him to see and understand, but to support us as we go forward. Never give up on us, and we won't give up on them. So that's the message. I also gave that to the Pope, not to give up on us, because we will not give up on them.
This is the Pope's first meeting with an Indigenous delegation since his official apology for the Catholic Church's role in the residential school system, which he gave 3 weeks ago. Well, we want to hear what you think about the Manitoba Métis Federation's trip to the Vatican. Here's how you can continue the conversation. Send your emails to news@aptn.ca. Leave a comment on our website. That's aptnnews.ca. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. Morley Gugu was once the Assembly of First Nations regional chief for Nova Scotia and Newfoundland until he was ousted in 2019 by Mi'kmaq chiefs. That was after an investigation revealed discrimination and harassment against women. He's in court tomorrow facing a sexual assault charge. Angel Moore is here to bring us up to date. Angel, thanks for being with us. Can you give us some background about Gugu, and has he faced similar charges before?
Yes, well, before he became AFN Regional Chief, he was councillor and chief of his community, Waigama First Nation in Cape Breton. And in 2016, charges were filed of him, accusing him of sexual assault. And the police did an investigation and determined that there was not enough evidence to prosecute.
And so about these latest charges, what can you tell us about those?
These charges were filed last December in 2020, and they accuse Morley of Gugu of sexual assault as well. And tomorrow he'll be in court to face these charges. So evidently there was enough evidence for these charges to go forward. The court is booked for one day, and I spoke with Mr. Gugu's lawyer, and he said he cannot comment on the details of the case, but he is quite confident that Mr. Gugu will be exonerated of the charges.
Angel, I guess we'll see what unfolds tomorrow. Appreciate you taking some time for us here today.
Thanks very much.
To Manitoba now, where Eric Redhead is stepping down as chief of Shamatawa First Nation as he looks to move into provincial politics. Redhead is seeking to run for the NDP as the MLA for Thompson in an upcoming by-election. Former NDP MLA Danielle Adams died in a highway accident in December. Redhead was just recently elected as the Grand Chief of the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs after the AMC suspended Arlen Dumas following an allegation of sexual assault. Redhead stepped down from the AMC role last week, citing time constraints and commitments, and has now stepped aside in his home community. The Manitoba NDP will be holding their nomination meeting this weekend, and so far Redhead is the only candidate seeking nomination. Redhead believes his previous experience as chief and with other organizations makes him the right person for the job.
I care about Thompson and I care about the North. I would be able to advocate on a whole other level, not only for the riding, but for the North in general, right? And so I think it's an opportunity to make real change, rather than, begging for a 10-minute seat at the table. This actually gives you a seat at the table, right? Not just for 10 minutes getting the ear of the ministers and the premier.
Okay, time to step aside for a quick break, and then what a legal win means for Indigenous and non-Indigenous fishers on Vancouver Island.
I think that I look forward to when things settle down and we can get a handle on management in a good way.
Welcome back. After a long court battle, 5 new Chenolf nations on Vancouver Island are preparing to exercise their right to harvest crabs commercially. But that right could mean some non-First Nations harvesters could lose their livelihoods. APTN's Lee Wilson has more.
Wickaninnish, Cliff Atleo of a Hausa First Nation, says it is welcome news that the new channel, 5 nations, will start to harvest crab commercially. He says late last year, Fisheries and Oceans Canada sent a notice they can take part in the commercial crab fishery. The new channels have a plan, and they want to be part of the management of a sustainable fishery in their territories.
We've created an economic model that we can adapt to fishing of any species. And so we'll be able to figure out pretty quick what it's going to take to actually be involved in a sustainable fishery of crab.
The announcement is a long time coming. The Channel have been in court fighting for fishing rights since 2003. The nation celebrated a huge victory when in 2009, the BC Supreme Court ruled they have a right to harvest species of fish in their territory. Then, in April of last year, the decision was confirmed in the BC Court of Appeal. In an email statement to APTN News, DFO says they consulted with the 5 nations to gradually implement the crab fishery on Vancouver Island. DFO has arrived at an agreement with the 5 nations to phase in their allocation increase, with some of the increase being implemented in the 2022-23 fishing season and the balance in the 23-24 fishing season. But to give the 5 nations licenses, DFO reduced the commercial crab traps for non-First Nation harvesters. Commercial crab trap totals have been reduced for the 2022 fishing season to provide an increased allocation for the 5 nations right-based crab fishery as directed by the BC Court of Appeal. The reduced current commercial crab allocation to accommodate First Nations has some crab harvesters worried that they aren't going to survive. Wiccaninish believes the commercial crab harvesters haven't been treated fairly, but says the two parties are building a working relationship.
They have been mistreated just like we have been. And so we're in the process of establishing a working relationship where actually those that are going to be pushed out will offer up their crabs for sale for our fishers, and we'll gear up accordingly to accommodate the reallocation of the crab to our people.
We reached out to the BC Crab Fishers Association, but did not get a response before airtime. Wiccaninish is hopeful that all 5 Nuu-chah-nulth nations will be able to take part in the crab fishery, along with existing crab harvesters.
Very good interest by young people to be part of this industry. And the Crab Association has been very open and willing to share their knowledge about the industry. And so I think that I look forward to when things settle down and we can get a handle on management in a good way.
Lee Wilson, APTN National News, Kitimat.
The National Youth Empowerment and Education Conference began its 3-day event in Edmonton on Wednesday, and it kicked off with the high-energy message about bullying. APTN's Chris Stewart was there.
It's not easy holding the attention of about 200 teenagers, young adults, and children. But for 2 hours, the Magoo crew did exactly that. Using a combination of traditional and contemporary dance, the only time the young people here touched their phones was to record video of the show. Blair Gladue runs the Magoo crew and calls himself Mr. Magoo at his shows, which has been performed internationally. He says his 2-hour shows teach about clean living, staying away from drugs and alcohol, and treating each other with love and respect.
Throughout our show, how we make them pay attention is through the entertainment. And then also we're doing the motivational speaking as we're entertaining. So this way they stay focused for the 2 hours.
A big focus of the performance is on bullying.
And as long as you stay away from drugs and alcohol, and as long as you stay at school, you're going to grow up to be whatever you want to be like. Remember that.
Because bullying has no color. And if we can go to a performance and reach out and touch at least one person out there and get the beautiful feedback, because you know you can't change the world overnight. But if you can change one person out of 100, who knows what'll come out of it.
Gladue says that if you are struggling, remember that you don't have to go through hard times by yourself.
I would just like to say to all the kids out there and to everybody out there, not only kids but to adults, that you're not alone, that you, no matter what, that you should be spreading respect and love out there and not negativity and hate.
And the young people here really enjoyed the learning and entertainment.
It was good. It was amazing.
What did you like about the show?
Everything.
The event continues until Friday with workshops, round dances, comedy shows, career fairs, and more. Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Edmonton.
Looks like a great event. Time to step aside for another quick break. And then a young boy making one-of-a-kind owl pendants.
It's my great-grandma Barbara's spirit animal. She really loved owls, and I kind of just loved owls too.
Welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. While enjoying a regular walk through the neighborhood, Lilu posed for a quick photo near Burroughs and Aikens in Winnipeg. Thanks to Alan McKay for sending this in. If you have a picture you want to send in for our photo of the day, be sure to email your photos to share@aptn.ca. Now let's take a look at Friday's weather forecast. Starting on the East Coast, 10 with showers for Charlottetown and Halifax. +3 with snow in Kuujjuaq, snow and 1 above in Nain. 10 with showers in Montreal, rain-snow mix and 0 in Chibougamau. Sunny and 8 above for Sault Ste. Marie, 10 in North Bay. +3 and cloudy in Thunder Bay, 3 with snow in Sioux Lookout. Sunny and 3 for God's Lake and Thompson. Rain and 5 for Winnipeg and Dauphin. +4 with snow in Regina, 1 degree warmer and snow in Saskatoon. +3 with showers in Meadow Lake, 4 in Uranium City. In northern Alberta, 9 for Fort McMurray, Peace River and Grand Prairie. 7 in Edmonton, 9 in Lethbridge. 13 in Vancouver, 12 for Victoria. 12 with showers in Prince George, 7 and rain in Dease Lake. +2 in Old Crow, showers and 5 for Whitehorse. -1 with snow for Yellowknife, -2 in Norman Wells. -15 for Sax Harbor, 7 below in Paulatuck. -7 with snow in Chesterfield, 20 below in Cambridge Bay. -19 in Resolute, 16 below in snow in Igloolik. A young designer from the Yukon is turning heads with his bedazzling owl-inspired beading. Not only is he becoming a who's who in the beading world, but breaking gender norms in the process. Here's Sarah Connors with that story.
Yeah. Wow. Mm-hmm.
Owls are what Cohen Quash is known for. At only 12 years old, the young beater already has made a name for himself. Most know him as Owl Boy for his one-of-a-kind owl pendants.
It's my great-grandma Barbara's spirit animal. She really loved owls, and I kind of just loved owls too. I watch Harry Potter movies a lot, and the owl head wig, that's what it also came from.
Quash is Taltan, Tlingit, and Casca, which he incorporated into his business name, Mosey SK Designs.
This is my very first photo shoot I did with Gotham Beauty.
He's already had a photo shoot with models displaying his designs and a trade with Casca Cree fashion designer Shosho Esquire. Quash's love of beading began with his great-grandmother Pansy Forsberg.
This is where this goes up here.
The pair started working together on purses when Quash was 9. Quash's skill led the pair to design more complicated projects like this owl pendant. Forsberg says it was tricky at first.
And after he finished sewing it, I would tell him the mistakes he makes. So I'll show him how to take it apart and redo it. And he did really well.
Now, with more intricate designs like this owl pendant, she says Quash is an accomplished beater.
Just has imagination of putting the owls together. It really inspired me. This is how we sew it together. You know, one day you're going to do this.
Today they're working on Quash's grade 7 regalia with flowers Forsberg beaded herself. It's time they cherish spending together.
It's good. We kind of we talk, we watch movies sometimes together, and we kind of just bead together.
Quash says it's not common to see boys beading, and he hopes his work will inspire others to break gender norms.
I would just say that's what I think, boys should bead, and I would love to see more male beaders have their own businesses, and I would be really happy. It doesn't really matter if I'm a boy who beads.
Forsberg says beading belongs to everyone.
For me, I was thinking, Cohen's a boy and he's wanting to bead, and it's all girl stuff, but really it isn't girl stuff, it's boy stuff too.
From owl pendants to starting a business before he enters high school, Quash is excited for what the future holds.
It's a big achievement for me.
Sarah Connors, APTN National News, Watson Lake.
Great looking work. You got a great teacher there, Cohen. Well, it's Thursday, and that means another episode of Nation to Nation is almost ready to go. Here's host Brett Forrester with what he'll be discussing.
Thanks, Winnipeg. The Conservatives may not be picking a new leader until September 10th, but polls have Ottawa area MP Pierre Poilievre as the front runner. What could a future Conservative government with him as Prime Minister mean for Indigenous people? To speculate about that, I'll talk to two pundits, Doug Cuthan, columnist for the Saskatoon Star-Phoenix, and Melissa Mbarki, a policy analyst for the Macdonald-Laurier Institute. As well, tuberculosis is almost unknown in southern Canada, but remains a huge problem in the traditional Inuit homelands, where infection rates are 300 times higher than in the non-Indigenous population. That's all coming up in a matter of minutes.
Thanks, Brett. Sounds like an episode you do not want to miss. After the discovery of thousands of unmarked graves at residential schools, some survivors are saying the Indian Residential Schools Settlement Agreement should be reopened. Tomorrow on APTN Investigates, Paul Barnsley takes a look at what's changed and what happens next. Here's a preview.
Survivors said the graves were there for years, even decades.
My stepfather was here, and he talked about, you know, as a young man, that they dug graves here.
Of all the horrible things that happened at residential schools, why was this the most shocking? Maybe Canada just wasn't ready to believe them. That all changed a year ago this May.
The remains of 215 children were found at a former residential school in British Columbia.
The Kamloops Indian Residential School was first established in 1890, and thousands of kids from across BC were sent here.
As more First Nations conducted searches of their former schools, more graves were found. And a terrible reckoning began.
You can catch a full episode of APTN Investigates tomorrow night, right here after the news. That is all the time we have for your APTN National News for this Thursday. For news anytime, visit our website, aptnnews.ca. I'm Dennis Ward. Thanks for being with us. Stick around. Nation to Nation with Brett Forrester's up next. Looking forward to hearing what Doug and Melissa have to say. We'll see you back here tomorrow.